Recently seen on Twitter a lot of people talking about how Afterhours is one of, if not the greatest project that has been released so far in the 2020s. This made me think about it. Do I agree? I mean, the year it came out, I played it from top to bottom all the time, and being a huge fan of The Weeknd, it was no surprise to me. I remember it releasing during a total lockdown in the city I was in at the time. The city was literally cold and empty, and I found myself able to relate to the lyrics. Its theme of gore, depression, and absolute darkness was something that a lot of people related to, not only because of the music itself, but because of how honest and personal the project was. If you look back at The Weeknd and how he has navigated telling stories in his career, he has always seemed to be sincere and give us a clear representation of his lowest lows. As The Weeknd has grown as an artist, he has adapted his music to be more mainstream while being as dark as possible. If I am trying to dissect this album's themes and general concepts, we have to categorize it into two distinct tropes. The city he has loved from afar for so long and is now part of who he is, and his inability to find romance. From the first track, Alone Again, even the deaf can hear desperation, and I will go as far as to say defeat, as he starts the whole project talking to an exotic dancer, who he most likely just met, asking her to tell him how much it will cost to help him out of this pit that he has fallen into, because he cannot even imagine being himself in this sassport that is called Vegas. If he's really talking to a stripper, or he's trying to use money to get the overarching female lead of this project to take him back, the desperation is at the front lines. Too Late goes from desperation to regret, but also a sparse feeling of acceptance of what loss can cause. If you listen closely to this project, this character is not only talking about the love that he had lost, but he also juxtaposes it with the city that he resides in. The Weeknd seems to be very biased in sharing blame of his current emotional situation. He usually has himself to blame, and if not himself, his immediate environment. The environment has led to this lifestyle, and this lifestyle has led to these mistakes that he continues to make. But here he is anyway, still in this city, and he has started to feel some sort of disdain for it. Disdain not because of what the city essentially is, but how it has become the only place he wants to reside, swinging the full weight of blame back to himself. Hardest to Love is another example of this. It is almost admirable how when someone is in so much pain in fact that the character is most often than not represented as bruised and in physical pain to make it apparent to the viewer, but still takes most of the blame for the situation. In Scared to Love, he sheds a bit of more light on the general situation by hinting that the reason for separation was because of infidelity from his side. In Snow Child, he starts from the very beginning, the times before he was The Weeknd and he was just Abel Tesfaye, and goes back and forth between then and now. Not only was success his ultimate goal, but the lifestyle that the City of Angel brought was just as much of a stimulant that drove him to his current success. Now he is exactly where he wanted to be. He brags about what he has amounted to over the years, but the city that he has dreamed about from the age of 16 has started to haunt him, and he plans his escape. This place is never what it seems. Take me out of LA, he says. This summarizes Escape from LA. There was actually a song that did release, but leaked after the whole project dropped. I think it was originally meant to be somewhere around this part of the album, but it shines the most light on The Weeknd's complicated relationship with the city. Escape from LA was him asking to be taken out of the city. Take Me Out of LA implies how hard it can be to live the city. There seems to be nowhere else like it, but it also seems to slowly corrupt you but by the time you realize it, you are too far gone. I bring up Take Me Back to LA because the character seems to have finally managed to get away from the city in this track, but he finds himself yearning to be back. I wish he finished this song, to be honest, because it's obvious that the lyrics have not been completed in its current state. This production has no features, but the closest it came to having one was with the already legendary producer, Metro Boomin. The music video of Heartless shows the Weeknd in a thorough state of intoxication and is roaming around the brightly lit city of Las Vegas, unapologetically inspired by the film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The video of this song gives us a visual representation of a city that seems to be so grand you might never want to leave. In a state of utter inebriation, roaming around this city with a pocket of $100 bills can usually suffice to distract you from how lonely you are or how content you should be. The lights are blinding, so you don't see the holes until you fall into them yourself. It's hard for me to believe. Nevertheless, the character in this project seems to have managed to do that. But he has decided to relapse and stop fighting the lifestyle that the city designates to you. He also reminisces about the time he was arrested back in 2015. The Weeknd is very good at taking events that might happen to anyone, usually lacking glamour, and managed to make it theatrical through his lyrics, vocals, and general production. That's what makes him one of the best of this generation. Like in this next track, Blinding Lights, the song that ended up being the lead single from this album and is the most streamed song by the artist ever. The hit single describes an extreme case of loneliness and depression. His description of him roaming around an empty city that seems to have all its lights on stimulates the mind and paints quite a picture. His loneliness leads to insomnia, and he has decided to wander the streets of Las Vegas till morning in hope to get a dose of the lifestyle that distracts him from his current states. In Your Eyes is my favorite song from this album. The beat and the saxophone is reminiscent of the old disco, which would greatly influence his latest synth-inspired project, Don FM, in a stripped down yet sonically evident way. Please subscribe to see me compare and contrast both albums in the near future. From here henceforth, he sways away from his addiction to the #1 character in this album, which is the city of LA and Las Vegas, and faces his lover. He admits to being disloyal to her and his shame in doing so, but even though he never explicitly states that she herself was disloyal, he starts the song with these lyrics, deciding not to tug or probe an issue that will leave him in despair. He knows that if there is any slight form of evidence to back this up, it might as well be true. They are both engraved in the lifestyle of the city of sin after all. Save Your Tears might be the second most popular song from this project. When most people listen to the song, they seem to think that the phrase "save your tears" is sang in an apathetic way, but it's quite the opposite. The character seems to be sad about breaking this girl's heart. He tells himself that he's too late and he cannot get her back, but the truth is that even though he convinces her to come back to him, he will leave again at some point. He tells her to save her tears for something or someone that is worth it. You don't love him if you're thinking of me. Repeat After Me has a bit of a petty demeanor about it, but also denial. There's no way he knows for sure what this character is thinking when she isn't even with him. It seems that she has successfully found someone else, and the Weeknd refused the possibility that what she has with this new suitor is real, and totally attributes it to spite that she might have for him. After Hours, the self-titled single, also released before this project released. I almost forgot about that. It was released after Blinding Lights, like a month before the entire project dropped. I remember not getting it at first, but without the context of the album, like everybody else, it sounded like Kissland and House of Balloons had a baby essentially. I wasn't a big fan at first, but mostly because I didn't want the whole album to sound like his older stuff. I was looking for a totally new chapter, a totally new sound, and I wasn't disappointed. It ended up being my second favourite song from the album. Until I Bleed Out depicts rock bottom in the context of being alone in a city like this. Intoxicated and alone, we see the character represented in a crowded room, expensively adorned and colourful, full of beautiful people. The room keeps spinning as he sings about how he's at this point simply terrified and afraid. And he doesn't even want to be intoxicated anymore. He cannot find joy any longer in his usual means of escape, and even in a completely inebriated space, with beautiful people and expensive things, he cannot be distracted from this. There are balloons and confetti and beauty, colour all around him, but he is defeated. This album is so sonically packed that you might have been distracted from the messaging and stories being told. But the concept was brilliant, sincere and relatable. The older we get, the more we yearn for community and companionship. LA and Vegas are some of the best destinations to explore and find the best of these, but only on paper. The curse of unlimited options leaves any consumer burdened and stained with greed. Having a concept that is unique and that runs for the whole span of a project without sounding redundant already puts After Hours in a league of its own. Everybody seems to focus on his personal relationships that recently ended at the release of the project. But that was never the tingle of this project. Neither was himself. It was the city that he cannot get away from, even if he tried. Thanks for watching. Please like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I want to see more in the future. Till next time.